Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about 5 tips you need to know if you're investing in real estate. Now, these are just kind of the basics. I want you to get used to the things that you're going to be thinking about when you're talking about real estate. And the reason why is because there's a lot of gurus out there. There's a lot of stuff, but if you don't know like these basic fundamental things, they can have a pretty big impact on your business. So these tips are going to help you start investing in real estate. Okay, these aren't things. These are not advanced strategies. These are for simple ways of looking at it and ways that are going to help you be successful. These are going to give you the foundation. Okay, the foundation that you're going to want in order to continue, right? There's nothing worse than doing something and it ending up bad, not because what you were doing was bad, but because you didn't know what you didn't know. So we're going to start with that. We're going to talk about these things, and I'm actually going to share with you one bonus tip, okay? So you're going to want to stay to the end for that one. But these main five tips are going to help you get where you want to be. I'm sure you've thought about it. You've been thinking about it. I'm sure you've been on the fence for quite some time. Oh no, it's so risky, or the real estate market is crazy. These tips are going to give you the tools to start feeling confident in your ability to be successful with that. Okay? If you're new here, my name is Taylor Darcy from Think Legal, where I help people and businesses thrive. I go live Monday through Friday, except for holidays and the occasional day off. But I go live right now, 11. It's 11:01 right this second. So please join me live. Get your questions answered. I'd love to talk with you. And I hope you're having a great week. So let's get started, shall we? All right, welcome back. Thank you. So I want to emphasize that this is just the beginning of the tips that you're going to want to do. So don't feel like that you have to know it all. One of the problems that I see with a lot of people getting involved with real estate investing or just doing something different or unfamiliar is they're scared. And fear inevitably beats a lot of things. So these are going to give you a little more confidence. Start knocking out that fear, because you don't have to know everything, right? But you need to know something to get started. So, number one, actually, hold on one second. You're going to want to diversify your real estate portfolio. So what does that mean? In other words, you're going to want to look at the market, the real estate market, as an opportunity to, for instance, a house in Indiana is going to have a different market than a house in Ohio or a house in South Dakota or a house in Georgia. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have different properties in different areas of the country, or potentially international if you feel confident in doing that. And there's a whole lot of stuff you need to know to work internationally. But in this instance, we're talking about the United States of America. So diversifying your portfolio. Why? Because although the market as a whole are related to each other, a market in Southern California is going to be very different than Ohio, going to be very different than Indiana, going to be very different. And so you're going to want to take a look at your objectives and your goals and make a decision based on that rather than on the hype. Okay, that's one of the big things. But diversifying your portfolio lowers your risk. Okay, the more, for instance, in one area of the country it might be up, and another area of the country it might be down. And so by diversifying your portfolio of properties, you're going to reduce your risk overall, right? You might not make as much money in that respect, but you're going to be a lot happier doing it, because then you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You're not risking everything you have in one place. Okay, so that's number one, diversify your real estate investments. Number two, and this one cannot be stated enough. This one is like, As an attorney, I see this, and I have to say this because it is so valuable. You're going to want to invest in real estate via an LLC or a trust, okay, or ideally both. These are advanced strategies. You're going to want to have an attorney that can help you with these. Someone that can do the trust and someone that can do the properties themselves, because you want these advanced strategies to not only change your tax consequences, but also reduce your liability, especially if you're planning on using it for rental income and that sort of thing. If you're planning on buying and selling the home, maybe, but again, this depends on your goals. So you're going to want to keep these thoughts in mind. Investing in these via an LLC or a trust, or in some instances, a corporation. And this is really why you need to sit down with an attorney to identify your goals, to make sure that we can accomplish those goals. But investing via an LLC or a trust or a corporation will give you the tools that you need to be as successful as possible, right? Like, and I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but by doing that, your tax consequences are going to be different, and your liability consequences are going to be reduced, not eliminated, but reduced. So this one is going to be something that these are somewhat advanced strategies. You can certainly buy property in your own name. Absolutely. There's nothing that says that you can't do that. The difference is, can you and should you? That's the difference. Should you buy property in your own name? And that's a big fat maybe, right? So keep this in mind when you're sitting down and thinking about these things. You want to have LLCs. Now, as an advanced strategy, what I always recommend, especially if you're doing rental properties, is having each property in their own LLC, okay? Because you want to keep things separate. You don't want, if there was a lawsuit, if there was an issue with one property, you don't want that spilling over to the other properties that you have. And when you buy, if you buy 5 properties and they're all held under one LLC, then you're risking all 5 properties for the sake of one property. And to me, that's too much risk given what you're doing with it. And then as an advanced next level strategy, you would have each corporation you would have a corporation own all of the LLCs, and then you would have the shareholder of the corporation be the trust. And again, these are advanced strategies, but these are things that you need to be thinking about if you're going to be getting involved in real estate investing, because there's a substantial benefit to investing in real estate, but there's also a bit of a risk, right? So you want to mitigate that risk as much as possible. There's no such thing as a perfect thing, and there's no such thing as mitigating all of your risk. Can we reduce your risk substantially? Yes, and that's the goal, is to reduce your risk and your tax consequence to an acceptable level, right? So there's no perfect way. That's why you need to sit down with an attorney and talk about these things. And whether that be me in California or somewhere else throughout the United States, that's up to you. That's your choice. Okay. So the next thing you're going to want to do is that you need to understand your investment. You need to understand the crime rates, the market in that area, the ups, the downs, the comps. There's so many things that you need to do. You need to look at this as an investment, which means you do your research, right? You're going to take care of it. You're going to say, is this a good investment? What's the property values? Have they been appreciating? Have they been depreciating? There's so many things that you want to think about. You need to know that home inside and out, both literally and figuratively, because while it might look good on paper, it might be terrible in reality. And that kind of, we'll talk about that in tip number 5. But by evaluating this inside and out, literally, figuratively, financially, all of these things, you're going to feel confident that what you're doing is the right thing. It's going to be a good investment for you. Because the last thing you want to do is get into something that you didn't know about or didn't understand, and then the risk all of a sudden shoots up and you're out, or potentially out, lots of money because of a choice that you made that you could have prevented. And I know I've said this before, but I have to say it again. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Okay, I cannot emphasize that enough. I know I say it almost every time we talk, but it's true, and I wish more people would listen. Like, honestly, don't do something that's going to hurt you later because you want to get into it quickly, right? The most successful people do their due diligence. They take care of those things to make sure that they don't happen. Again, they mitigate their risk. So spend the money. It's worth it, especially when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions, okay, depending on your property, depending on what you're getting yourself into. Take the time, do it right. Don't rush it, okay? If someone wants to rush you on something to making a decision that you don't feel comfortable with, you have my permission to walk away, okay? Walk away. I cannot emphasize that enough. If someone is pushing you to do something you do not feel comfortable with, walk away, okay? Now, that doesn't mean there isn't going to be some discomfort in doing something, okay? I'm not suggesting that it's going to be perfectly comfortable. But if they're trying to use time pressure, which a lot of people do, I'm not suggesting that it isn't, as a means to manipulate you. There's a difference between time pressure that's legitimate and time pressure that's fake. The time pressure that people use that's fake is, oh, well, this house is only going to be on the market for a few days, right? And so they're going to push it. Versus if you've got multiple bidders on a home and you're bidding on that home or potentially bid on that home, then that's real, right? So you want to take a step back and say, I'm not comfortable with this. I need more time. And maybe things go by, right? You need to balance your risk tolerance rate in that respect. So maybe you're going to lose a house, but you're going to be a lot more comfortable with that next house or whatever investment that you're looking at. All right. So understanding the investment, that's number 3. Number 4, this one is so good. This one's good too. Don't be afraid to outsource. This one I see all the time. You're thinking all about your profits and you're not thinking about your sanity. Okay. And your sanity is infinitely worth more than your profits. I cannot emphasize that enough. Your sanity as a human being has more value than your money. Okay. Tax preparation, bookkeeping, legal advice. I know I'm tooting my own horn on that one, but I think it's valuable. And property managers. These are the things that you're going to want to do, right? These are the things that you're going to want to outsource. Don't do them. Spend the money. It's deductible. Okay, talk to your CPA or bookkeeper, but it's generally a deductible anyway. So why not reap the benefit of somebody else's knowledge? If you look at the most wealthy people in the world, they are decision makers. They are not implementers. They do not sit there and figure out ways to do something. Like, they don't sit there and do their taxes. They have accountants for that. They don't do their legal stuff. They have attorneys for that. Start thinking strategically. Start thinking like people that have money. Use that money to outsource, and you use it to be able to do better with your money, right? Like, again, your sanity has more value than money. That's just how it is. Your value comes from your decision making, not your implementing. Okay. So consider all of these things when you're investing in real estate. Don't afraid to outsource. That's number 4. Number 5. Okay. Expect the unexpected. Stuff will go wrong. Have the proper mechanisms in place. You can't plan for everything, but you can acknowledge that there is something that you're not familiar with that could happen. And that means having a cash reserve in case of an emergency. Say a water heater goes out over the weekend at one of your rental properties or that type of thing. Well, you need to replace that as soon as possible. But if you're like skating by on barely anything, then that water heater could be really harmful to you as the property owner from an investment perspective. Because then you get issues in California anyway of warranty of habitability issues. There's so many things that you start doing. So have a cash reserve. Have money sitting in your bank doing nothing but available in case of an emergency. Now, I'm not suggesting you should have huge amounts of that. It depends on the property and the costs that potentially go with it. So you should anticipate a certain amount each year that's going to cost you extra, that you're not planning on spending on that property, like a water heater, like a flood, right? And so there's other mechanisms such as insurance that can help you with this. All while insurance companies aren't always your friend, I've said that on multiple videos, you should still have it, because you don't want to put all, as I've said with diversifying your portfolio, you don't want to put all of your eggs in your one basket, right? Well, the same thing goes with risk, right? You can mitigate your risk through LLCs, through rental contracts. Got to have good rental contracts. Oh my gosh, that is another good one. That's part of that outsourcing. Your property management company will handle those rental property contracts. They will be in charge of being in charge of those, making sure they're in compliance with the laws. So having rental property good contracts are going to help save you a ton. So having a cash reserve, having good insurance, having an LLC, and having a good rental contract. All of these things will help mitigate, not entirely eliminate, your risk, which is the key to being successful. Okay, lower risk, increase reward. Okay, so expect the unexpected. Those are the top 5. Those are the things that you need to concentrate on. Those are the things that will make you successful over the long term by applying those consistently and evenly, right? Like whenever you start getting off tilt, it's time to reevaluate. It's time to come back. Real estate can be very lucrative if you do it right. If you do it wrong, it can be very expensive, and you can risk a lot that way. For instance, if you don't take care of your property, then you're setting yourself up for a lawsuit. That's why I'm suggesting make sure that you are taking care of your property and you have that fund available to you to cover those unexpected expenses. For instance, in a place where there's significant weather events, well, you're going to need to have the proper insurance for that. Or if there's weather events and there's rain, then you need to make sure the roof is covered. All of these things go into it. You need to start thinking strategically about your business, not just, ooh, cool, I'm going to get into real estate. Woohoo! I'm going to make money. Okay, that's fine, right? Like, be excited about getting into real estate. Be excited about doing something like that. But never let your excitement supersede the doing the right thing, right? A lot of investors get into it and they don't do the right thing, and they set themselves up for an expensive lawsuit. If there's an issue, it's very important that you walk the property or have someone walk the property and you look at each potential issues. Make sure they're in compliance with the building codes. They're in compliance with the real estate codes, the housing codes, all of these different codes you need to be somewhat, aware of. Because the last thing you want to do is have your property breach those codes because you didn't do your due diligence. And that's no excuse. You can get sued very fast for doing stuff like that. All right. We're on to your bonus tip. And this is where your money's at. Just like compound interest, when you're investing in real estate, invest for the long term. There's a lot of people that get in and out of the market that try to speculate, and they end up risking a lot. There's a lot of risk that's associated with that. Now, I'm not saying you can't have short-term properties that you're getting in and out of, but make that a larger picture, right? Make that part of your long-term picture. Be intentional about it. Make the decisions based upon facts and information, not based on your gut or based on someone else's facts or someone else's information. When you're doing your due diligence, make sure that that's a part of it. But real estate typically has good returns over the long haul. If you're expecting an instant windfall, which is what people did with house flipping, doesn't always happen. You're risking a lot. I don't recommend that. You won't be as happy if you go in with the tent of finding a fixer-upper, getting it and selling it for $100,000+. The reason why those shows are the way that they are is because they have teams, they have crews, they have ways of getting the cost down substantially. And also think of it this way. Would they put a property on on a TV show that made $5,000 or $10,000? That doesn't sell, okay? Nobody wants to watch that. Whoop-de-doo, right? They want to see the houses that started out and they made $100,000 profit, okay? So when you put it in context like that, then you realize that their intent is to have you watch a TV show, not give you good real estate advice. That's not how most house flipping happens, okay? Most house flipping, it's, yes, there's some improvements and you're able to sell it for more than what you bought it for. Okay, that's great. But it is not the $100,000, $200,000 that a lot of these house flipping shows purport. It's just not realistic that that's true, okay? And we'll do more episodes. We'll talk about house flipping in a different one. But I want you to just, again, these 5 tips, actually 6, I know there's a bonus there, are going to give you the most opportunity for success. People that listen are going to find a rewarding opportunity to invest in real estate. So that's it. That's where it is. If you've gotten value out of this video, don't forget to subscribe and like and hit that bell icon so you're notified of when I go live. We'll see you later. Have a great week. Bye.